hot topic of the day today, Teddy, Final Four controversy. Double dribbles, possibly missed out there, Teddy. Late foul calls, not going the way for Auburn, but I do agree it was an absolute foul call, Teddy. But look, I bet -6 Virginia. The call didn't impact me, but boy, did it impact Auburn and head into the final.
It sure did. Again, I had Virginia -5 in my pocket. Didn't do me any good. And you're actually hoping for OT, given that scenario. Guile, hit 2 out of 3. Kyle, hit 2 out of 3, please, but don't hit that third. Hits the third, which means the game stayed under, which means Auburn covered. And obviously it means Virginia survives and advanced to the national title game. When it comes to controversy, I don't think there's any question. Samir Daugherty fouled the guy. Maybe shouldn't have transferred from VCU, but he did, and he fouled the guy, and lo and behold, they called it. And you could say he fouled him on the shot and on the landing. I don't argue with the call, although the refs swallowed their whistles for extended stretches in the second half of that ball game. It was not a foul fest by any stretch of the imagination, and that kind of a touchy foul, but one the ref has to call. The one that they didn't call, obviously, the double dribble, or was it a foul right before the double dribble because Bryce Brown grabbed Ty Jerome on that second? I don't think any of this was as egregious as what we saw, for example, in the NFC Championship game, where now the rules are being changed because it was a pass interference that should have been called and wasn't. Nonetheless, a little bit of controversy? No, it's a lot of controversy. That's the way that it is, circa 2019. Kudos to the Cavs. They didn't cash my ticket or your ticket, Donnie. They didn't cash anybody's ticket unless you had them on the money line, and they might cash a ticket tonight to win the national title.
Yeah, a lot of was forgotten in that game, Teddy, because it was a 57-47 lead with just around 5 minutes to go in the game, and a 14-0 Auburn run sort of gets lost because, we concentrate so much on the late free throws, which I can't imagine the pressure of a young kid in a dome atmosphere needing to make all 3 free throws to get to Monday night's basketball game for the national championship game. But, 61-57, this game was over. And let's not forget, Teddy, Kyle Guy drops a 3 with under 10 seconds to go just to make it a 1-point game. This kid down the stretch, 6 points, Teddy, in the last 9 seconds.
And the one missed free throw from Auburn, who'd been great at the line all day, but the one that mattered I wouldn't have sealed the deal, but it prevented them from losing by a point. Well, that's the one that came up just short. And look, I don't know how Virginia's done it. They have absolutely been playing with fire, and they've come out all smiles. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we preview tonight's game later, right here on That Betting Show.
Yeah, Teddy, Gardner-Webb had them down. So, you're right about it. Virginia seemingly having 9 lives. We'll take a look at it. Texas Tech, however, closed out Michigan State in the late-night recap. In the earlier game, Teddy stayed under the total. This one also stayed under the total, but more impressively, Texas Tech holding Michigan State to 51 total points on less than 32% shooting. This team can D up, Teddy.
They sure can. Cassius Winston out of his game throughout in that contest. And Texas Tech, although they survived a Michigan State run, the Spartans cut the lead to 2? And then Texas Tech was able to pull away. Concerns tonight, however, when we talk about Tariq Owen, he went down with an ankle injury on Saturday. In less than 10 minutes, and it looked ugly. In less than 10 minutes of basketball time after limping onto the locker room, he was back on the floor, stretching. He was in the game, but played only a few minutes and then sat the rest of the game. Said that his ankle was retaped, that the trainers were trying to find a larger shoe to accommodate the new tape job. But Owens back on the bench by the end of the game. We'll have to see if he's 100% tonight. All that being said, Texas Tech again down the stretch, making the plays on both ends of the court. They've been doing that consistently in this tournament, a lot more consistently than Virginia has.
Yeah, same feel, Teddy, for that first Virginia game where we had Virginia get out to that lead and Auburn came all the way back. It looked like the same thing was going to happen because Texas Tech had that 13-point lead, goes down all the way to 1, and then a big bucket, I believe, by Culver to make it 3 points, and they were able to escape and get away. The one interesting thing about tonight, Teddy, because you don't want to look too much in the, guessing in the injury information, but the one thing that we know from sports and we know from injuries out, you can come back on a little bit of an adrenaline kick in that game because it looks like it was a bad ankle injury and a bad knee injury on top of it. Runs out, got a tape, feeling good, plays only a few moments sparingly, and then the next day comes. You have the swelling getting back up, the achiness. Looking into tonight's game, which we're going to preview a little bit later, but before we get into that, do you think he's going to be okay for this game, though? Because, this is a 6'10 player that they need him on the boards against a pretty sizable Virginia squad.
They sure do. Tariq Owens is one guy that not only does he have to play, He'll have to play well if Texas Tech's going to win this ballgame. He's officially listed as probable right now with an ankle injury. There's nothing being talked about his knee, and they do expect him to play. The question, of course, how effective he's going to be. And to be honest, you know how it is in 2019. They'll jack him up with something. I would think he'll be okay going into tonight's game. But whether he's able to, whether he tweaks the ankle, whether something happens within the contest to diminish his effectiveness, Tariq Owens isn't 100% or close to it in the second half of this ballgame. Texas Tech may well be in trouble.
Teddy, after 10 games in the American League, we're going to talk a little bit of baseball now. Some of the stuff that we went over, if you watched all through, and I don't know why you weren't watching all through that betting show, we did a preview of each and every Major League Baseball team. And look, we thought the Rays would be a decent squad. The Tigers, not so much. The Mariners, not so much. They get the early start, Teddy, out there in Tokyo and are riding the wave, picking up their 9th win yesterday. The AL 3 leaders right now, Teddy. The Rays, the Tigers, and the Mariners. Shake up April, baby.
Yeah, and I mean, if ever there is clear evidence to illustrate this is a marathon, not a sprint, it's the standings after 10 games of the season. No, the Tigers are not going to win the AL Central this year. No, the Mariners are not going to win the AL West this year. And no, the Rays probably aren't going to win the AL East this year. But in a short sample size, all 3 of those teams doing very well. Tampa's been really impressive so far. Their pitching has been dynamite, starters and bullpen. I've been really impressed with the Rays. I'm with you in terms of the concept of, this is not a mirage. From Tampa, for the Tigers, nice to play the Royals. For the Mariners, they played more than their fair share. And they're hitting the ball right now. But do we trust any of these teams to take care of business? No, not a one of them will be in first place by the All-Star break. Not a one of them will be in first place by Memorial Day. Not a one of them will be in first place by May 1st. This is just a little blip on a long MLB season.